reminder, next right this minute.
Tonight, 10 Eastern.
One of his letters, just a part of it that he wrote to his daughter in jail, he says, quote, "This jail is full of blacks and they all act like thugs. This may sound a bit radical, but if more people would arm themselves and kill these effing idiots when they're threatening you, eventually they may take the hint and change their behavior."
That exact letter was written after an inmate walked by and said he was going to rape Mr. Dunn when he gets a hold of him. He's actually become quite friendly with some of the younger juveniles there. They can kind of talk through the vents. They even indicated to him, "Oh, we thought you were this angry, mean white guy," and they've actually learned to understand him.
Back with Jenny, we are on verdict watch for the Loud Music murder trial. Still here, Shagun, Anahita, Ann Coulter, and Miss Ali. Miss Ali, do you think this guy has changed at all, or does that letter say everything?
Oh, no, he hasn't changed anything. And he is so arrogant, he doesn't think he has to change. What for? Now, my worry is that the jury is asking these questions, and like you say, we all thought this was going to be a slam dunk. But the fact that they're asking those questions, somebody has gotten to them and making them think about it. Most of these guys in here are a bunch of contractors and welders, and they all tend to take a really active position regarding having a gun and using it. And that is what I'm worried about, that they're going to bully those other jurors into going along with them.
Anahita, do you agree with that, or what's your view from inside as a defense attorney?
You couldn't be more wrong. Okay, Dr. Drew, you're asking, why is it taking them so long? We talked about this in the makeup room. But taking so long, I mean, these jurors are basically deciding whether or not this man spends the rest of his life in jail. So, of course, they need to deliberate. They're doing exactly what we want them to do as jurors. They're asking questions. They're asking to review evidence. That's exactly what we want, both on the prosecution side and on the defense side. And quite frankly, we can't even read into, some of their questions. Oh, why are they asking this question? Why are they asking that question? Because it could be just one of those jurors asking that question. We don't know. It could be one juror, two jurors.
Speaking of defense, I've got John Phillips. He's a civil attorney for Jordan Davis's family. And you apparently gave HLN some video from the civil deposition of one of Dunn's neighbors. We're going to look at that. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Certainly. It's a guy named Charles Hendricks, who was a neighbor for Mr. Dunn for about 8 years. And I was representing the family on the wrongful death and defamation case because of all the comments made by Dunn and his agents. And so I did a recorded interview with Mr. Hendricks. It wasn't a sworn deposition. There was not another side there, opposing it.
All right, well, let's look at it. Let's take a look.
Okay, all of this information came forward.
All right, hang on, John. Take a look.
In my opinion, he believed that black people and Hispanics were beneath white people, that this country was being taken over, and that white people needed to stand up. Those are his words, not mine.
Dunn's lawyer says there's no evidence to support that gentleman's claim. Shagun, were you doing jumping jacks there because you wanted to respond to this?
Yeah, this is the man's neighbor. I mean, this person lives next door to him and sees his actions every day, so I think that he might have a better idea of the character of this man than the jurors. But I don't even worry about what the jurors' questions are or what that means. We must also realize that there's no amount of justice that is going to come from this trial because this kid is not coming back. This man took another man's life, and they're deliberating whether he should spend the rest of his life in jail, but even that doesn't bring back the kid's life. He opened fire on four unarmed teens because the law allowed him to. Come on.
John, are you concerned about the length of deliberation or the kinds of questions that are being asked by the jury?
No, I couldn't agree more with the prior comment that this is another man's life on the line, and I like that they're being meticulous and they're going through it because the evidence, especially of all the attempted murders, those last 3 shots is so clear and so convincing. When it comes down to Jordan, the thought is that they're just trying to decide between first and second degree. And, we still haven't reached the amount of time it took in the Zimmerman verdict to many others.
John, let me interrupt you and ask, hang on a second, John, what's the deal with the silencer? In the Nancy Grace episode just prior to us, I think Taffy was asking something about why he wasn't found criminally, why there wasn't any action taken on the silencer. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Nancy asked about the nunchucks in the back seat because he had nunchucks visible, and then he had a silencer in the trunk. And certainly certainly the silencer had nothing to do with it because it's in the trunk. But you know, the only purpose of a silencer is to silence bullets. It was interesting when all that came out that Corey Stroller referred to them as novelty items. Well, those items aren't funny. They're not novelty. They're weapons of destruction.
Can I ask
Miss
who
Ali,
takes those types of weapons to a wedding?
Dr. Drew, thank goodness that the jury is sequestered. Dr. Drew, thank goodness that the jury is sequestered in this case, because I really don't understand what the purpose of Mr. Phillips. I understand he's an advocate for the family of the victim, but why would you release that interview into the public when you know this is such a high-profile case? It is racially charged. Why would you release that video at the time when these jurors are deliberating?
So the truth could get out?
Because they're sequestered. And did you hear what Mr. Stroller said about my clients, these young boys? He got on there and grandstanded saying this isn't a black or white issue, it's a thug issue. Well, I do not appreciate that, ma'am. The real Michael Dunn needs to come out. And there's going to be many more neighbors and princes that are going to come
Hold on,
forward.
John. Ms. Ali, response.
Well, here's the confusion that's going to come up, Dr. Drew. You know, I mentioned this the last time on the Trayvon Martin case. When the judge read the instructions, he told them already that homicide can be excused if it's in a fit of passion, if it's considered an accident, or in the middle of the confusion of combat. So it's going to be very difficult again for them to find him guilty. And tell me this, let me ask the lawyer this. If they find him not guilty on the murder charges, does that mean he's also not guilty on the attempted murder charges?
No.
John.
No, each one is separate.
Each one is different. And Ann, I'm going to give you last word.
And
Ann,
typically,
finish
they
it up
can
here.
hang out on one of them and not hang on the rest.
Right.
Thanks. Lots of people talking in my ear. Well, for one thing, what the jury does, I think, is utterly meaningless. I'm surprised it's taken this long, too. On the other hand, a jury found Casey Anthony innocent. I totally agree that this tape from the neighbor is meaningless. This is not a trial in Pakistan. The neighbor could hate him. Of course, it should not have come in at trial. It may be fun on TV. The reason, what the jury needs to consider is, I think, the fact that there's lots of incriminating evidence, and as far as I can tell, absolutely no exculpatory evidence. I don't understand why this wasn't a plea bargain. I don't understand what is taking the jury so long, but it's meaningless what the jury does. Who knows? Some juries are crazy.
Jenny, you want to respond to that before we go to break?
Yeah. No, I just totally, like what Anna's saying is spot on. This should have been a quick, cut and dry, done case. The guy is guilty. There's not a thing in this case that seems like he shouldn't be. So the jury, I have to go to Miss Ali. If they do not find him guilty, there's a problem in the deliberations, because that will be the wrong conclusion.
No way.
Will you two ladies march with us in Florida?
There's no such thing as a cut and dry case ever in the law, Dr. Drew. And I think all of us are just rushing to conclusion.
Will you ladies march with us if it's not found guilty? If he's not found guilty, well, can we all collectively go to Florida and march?
No, because not being found guilty does not mean that justice did not take place.
No, but I just love the fact that
not guilty
no, but I love the fact
that justice
I love the
was
fact
not
that there are
found
2
in this
black
case.
people on TV, 3 white people on TV. We all think he's guilty. You don't.
Yes.
I want us all to march, Rainbow Coalition, and change the law in Florida.
Terrible.
I'm not marching, and I'm not
It's
in
also
the
against Casey
I'm not
Anthony.
white, first of all, Shagun.
Ain't no
and I'm
black
not
in the
making
rainbow.
my judgments based on the color of my skin. I'm basing it on the facts and evidence that were presented. As far
I was
as
talking about
understand
Jenny
those
and
facts
Ann and Dr.
evidence.
Drew, not you, Anahita. I know what you are, Anahita.
Okay, then you're excused, Shagun.
I'm not going to make a commitment if I can't live up to it, but I will definitely talk about it. I'm up for. There's a lot of things I'd like to march about, for that matter. So hang in there, guys. Up next, I'm going to bring in the Behavior Bureau. Well, all right, Miss Ali, you don't have to march. And later, Behavior Bureau comes in, and later we'll hear from the teen accused of being